Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the stars drift past on the main screen. The Liberty's Edge had been traveling through empty space for 3 weeks now, searching for new worlds that humans might someday call home. Jake was tired, but he loved this job. After 20 years of exploring the galaxy, he still felt excited every time they found something new. His crew was small but good. Dr. Lisa Parker handled all the science work, always eager to study whatever. Strange things they found out here. Ben Rodriguez managed communications, keeping them connected to Earth and translating alien languages when they met new species. Tony Washington kept their ship running perfectly, no matter what challenges space threw at them. They were like family to Jake, and he trusted them with his life. The Liberty's Edge was not a warship. It carried no heavy weapons or armor plating. Instead, it was built for long journeys into unknown space, packed with scientific equipment and supplies for months of travel. Jake preferred it that way. He had joined the space service to explore and discover, not to fight wars. That morning started like any other. Jake was drinking his coffee and reading reports from Earth when Ben called out from his station. "Captain, I'm getting a distress signal. It's coming from the Kepler 442 system, about 2 days away." Jake set down his coffee. "What kind of signal?" Ben frowned at his screen. "It's strange, sir. The message is broken up, like it was sent in a hurry. I can make out a few words. They're talking about something called the Ancient Terror and asking for help." Ancient Terror? Jake had never heard that phrase before. What species sent it? "The signal is coming from the Vorthik colonies. They're usually very calm people, not the type to panic easily." Dr. Parker looked up from her. "Research station. The Vorthik have been living in that system for over 50 years. They're peaceful traders, mostly. If they're scared enough to send a distress signal, something very bad must be happening." Jake thought for a moment. They were explorers, not rescue workers, but they couldn't ignore people in trouble. "Set course for Kepler 442. Full speed." "Yes, sir," Tony called from the engine room dot as they traveled toward the distress signal. Jake tried to learn more about what they might find. He searched through the ship's database for any mention of Ancient Terror, but found nothing. Dr. Parker contacted other human ships in the area, but none of them had heard of anything unusual happening in that system. The mystery deepened when they reached the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Jake stood on the bridge, staring at the main screen in shock. Where there should have been 3 living planets full of Vortex cities and farms, he saw only dead, blackened worlds spinning in the darkness. "My God," Lisa whispered. "What happened?" "Here?" Tony's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, I'm reading some very strange energy patterns out there. Whatever did this might still be around." Jake felt his heart beating faster. In all his years of exploration, he had never seen destruction like this. The planets looked like they had been burned from the inside out. Every trace of life was gone. "Ben, are you picking up any survivors?" Ben worked at his station for several minutes before shaking his head. "Nothing, sir. No ships, no colonies, no life signs at all. Whatever happened here, it happened fast." They moved deeper into the system, scanning for any clues about what had caused such complete destruction. The Vorthik had lived here for decades. They had cities, farms, families. Now there was nothing but empty, dead rock. "Captain," Dr. Parker said quietly, "I'm detecting something between the 2nd and 3rd planets. It's big, and it's giving off energy readings I've never seen before." Jake's mouth went dry. "Is it a ship?" "I don't think so. The energy pattern is too strange, too old. It's like nothing in our databases." As they got closer, Jake began to feel something he had never experienced before. It was not quite fear, but a deep sense of unease that seemed to come from nowhere. The feeling grew stronger as they approached the source of the energy readings. There, Lisa pointed at the screen. Do you see it? At first, Jake saw nothing but empty space. Then, slowly, something began to take shape on their sensors. It was huge, dark, and seemed to absorb the light from nearby stars. As they watched, it began to move toward them. Should we run, Captain? Ben asked, his voice tight with worry. Jake stared at the thing approaching their ship. Every instinct told him to turn around and flee as fast as possible. But something else held him back. In all the years he had been exploring space, he had learned that running away rarely solved anything. Not yet, he said. Let's see what it wants. The dark shape grew larger on their screen. As it got closer, Jake could see that it was not solid like a ship or asteroid. Instead, it seemed to be made of pure energy, shifting and moving like a living shadow. The strange feeling of unease grew stronger, and Jake heard Ben gasp behind him. Then it spoke. The voice came from everywhere at once, inside their heads and through their ship speakers. It was old, tired, and filled with a sadness so deep it made Jake's chest ache. Another ship comes to witness the end, the voice said. Another species arrives to see their doom. I have waited so long between meals. Tell me, little ones, what is the name of your people? I like to remember those I consume. Jake felt his crew's fear wash over him, but strangely, he found himself more curious than afraid. There was something in that ancient voice that reminded him of his own lonely nights in deep space, when the emptiness between stars felt like it might swallow him whole. We are human, Jake said aloud, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. And we are not here to die. We came because someone called for help. The dark shape paused in its approach, and for a moment the bridge fell, completely silent. The silence stretched for what felt like hours, though Jake knew it was only seconds. The dark shape in space seemed to be thinking, considering his words. Jake could feel his crew holding their breath behind him, waiting to see what would happen next. When the voice came again, it sounded different, less certain than before. Human, the entity said slowly. I do not know this word. You are not in my memory of species I have encountered. Where do you come from, little human? Jake stepped closer to the main screen, even though Tony whispered, a warning behind him. We come from a planet called Earth. It's far from here, near the edge of the galaxy. We're explorers, looking for new worlds and new life. The dark energy shape moved closer to their ship. Jake could see it more clearly now. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, like watching a storm from space. Patterns of light moved through the darkness, creating shapes that hurt to look at directly. Explorers, the voice repeated. It has been long since I met explorers. Most species I encounter are fleeing from me or trying to fight me. You do neither. Why? Dr. Parker moved to stand beside Jake. Her scientific curiosity was stronger than her fear. Because we don't know what you are yet, she said. We came here because we heard a call for help. Did you destroy the people who lived here? The entity's energy patterns shifted, becoming more agitated. Destroy? Yes, I destroyed them. I destroy everything I touch. It is what I do. It is what I have always done. But why? Jake asked. The question surprised even him. He had not planned to ask it, but something in the entity's voice made him want to understand. The darkness seemed to pull back slightly. Why? No one has asked me why before. They only scream and run and die. Why do you not run, human Jake? Jake noticed that the entity had remembered his name from when Ben had called out to him earlier. That seemed important somehow. Because running away doesn't solve problems. And because you sound sad. The statement hung in the air between them. Jake's crew stared at him like he had lost his mind. Ben was already calculating jump coordinates, ready to run if needed. Tony had his hand on the emergency controls. Only, Dr. Parker seemed to understand what Jake was trying to do. Sad, the voice repeated slowly. I had forgotten that word. Yes, little human. I am sad. I have been sad for so very long. How long? Dr. Parker asked gently. The entity was quiet for a long time. When it spoke again, its voice carried the weight of centuries. I have existed for over 800 of your years. In that time, I have encountered 73 different species across this galaxy. All of them feared me. All of them called me monster, destroyer, death itself. I learned to become what they called me. Jake felt something shift inside him. This was not the voice of a mindless killer. This was someone in pain. What do you call yourself? I am Velthros. Long ago, that name meant seeker of light in my people's language. Now it means nothing. My people are gone. I am the last. Dr. Parker's instruments were recording everything, but she seemed to have forgotten about them. What happened to your people? We transcended, Velthros said. We became beings of pure energy, immortal and powerful. We thought we had achieved perfection, but there was an accident, a tear in space itself. All of my kind were pulled into the void except for me. I have been alone ever since. The story hit Jake like a physical blow. He thought about his own crew, how they had become like family to him. He could not imagine losing all of them and being left alone in the vastness of space forever. That must have been terrible, Jake said quietly. You understand, Velthros. Sighed, and his voice carried surprise. When I first tried to contact other species, my power was too great. I accidentally destroyed their technology, their cities, sometimes entire planets. They called me monster before I even knew what I had done wrong. After centuries of this, I stopped trying to communicate. I embraced what they called me. Ben was frantically working at his station, trying to track other ships in the area. Captain, I'm picking up multiple vessels approaching our position. They're coming fast. Jake did not take his eyes off the energy being. What kind of ships? Mixed. Fleet. I see Galactic Council markings, some military vessels, maybe 15 ships total. They'll be here in 2 hours. They come to destroy me, Velthros said calmly. They always do when I linger in one place too long. They think their weapons can hurt me. They are wrong, but they try anyway. And then what happens? Dr. Parker asked. Then I defend myself. Their ships become debris. More planets die. The cycle continues. Jake made a decision that would change everything. What if it didn't have to continue? The darkness around Velthros pulsed with energy. What do you mean, human Jake? What if instead of fighting, you talk to them, like you're talking to us right now? They will not listen. They never listen. They see only the destroyer, not the being beneath. But we're listening, Jake said. We heard your story. Maybe others will too, if you give them the chance. Velthros was quiet for a long moment. You would stay here? Even with the fleet coming? Even knowing what I'm capable of? Jake looked back at his crew. Tony nodded slowly. Dr. Parker was already pulling up communication protocols. Even Ben, despite his obvious fear, remained at his station. We'll stay, Jake said. But I want to try something different. When those ships arrive, let me talk to them first. Let me tell them what you told us. And if they do not listen? Jake took a deep breath. Then we'll figure out what comes next. Together. For the first time in 800 years, Velthros felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The 15 ships of the Galactic Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace like angry hornets. Jake watched them on his screen, their weapons already charging for battle. He recognized several ship types from his years of exploration. There were Zephyrian cruisers with their distinctive blue hulls, sleek Andromedan destroyers, and the massive outer rim battleships that looked like flying fortresses. "They're not here to talk," Ben said, monitoring their communications. "I'm intercepting battle orders." They planned to surround and destroy the target on sight. Jake stood up from his command chair. "Open a channel to the fleet commander." "Sir, are you sure about this?" Tony asked from his engineering station. "No," Jake admitted, "but someone has to try." The main screen split to show both the approaching fleet and Valthros floating in the darkness nearby. The ancient being had not moved since the ships arrived, but Jake could see energy patterns building within his form. "They prepare their weapons," Valthros said, his voice heavy with old sadness. "Just like all the others. They will fire, I will defend myself, and more will die today." "Not if I can help it," Jake said. Then louder, "Ben, are you connected to the fleet?" "Yes, sir." "You're on with Admiral Keth of the Galactic Defense Force." A new voice crackled through their speakers, harsh and commanding. "Human vessel, you are ordered to leave this area immediately. We are about to engage a Classa galactic threat. Your presence here endangers this entire operation." Jake took a deep breath. "Admiral Keth, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Liberty's Edge. I request permission to speak before you attack. There is nothing to discuss, human. The Devourer must be destroyed before he can escape to terrorize more systems. His name is Valthros," Jake said firmly. "And he's not what you think he is." Silence filled the bridge. Even Valthros seemed surprised by Jake's words. Admiral Keth's voice returned, colder than before. "That creature has destroyed entire civilizations. Billions are dead because of him. Stand down immediately or be considered hostile." Dr. Parker stepped forward. "Admiral, this is Dr. Lisa Parker, Chief Science Officer. We've been in communication with Valthros for the past 2 hours. He's not a mindless destroyer. He's the last survivor of a transcended species, and he's been alone for 800 years. "Impossible," another voice cut in. "The Devourer speaks only to threaten and destroy." Jake recognized the accent. "Who am I speaking with?" "Commander Yex of the Andromedan Second Fleet. I was there when he destroyed the Crystal Cities. I watched him turn our most beautiful worlds to ash. This creature knows only destruction." Valthros's energy form pulsed brighter. "I remember you. Commander Yex, your ships attacked me first. I was trying to communicate, but my presence destroyed your technology. You called me monster before I could explain." Commander Yex's voice cracked with old pain. "You killed millions of my people." "No," Valthros said quietly. "I have carried their deaths with me every day since. I did not know how to control my power then. I was still learning what I had become." Jake could feel the tension building. The fleet was moving into attack formation, but their commanders seemed confused by what they were hearing. "This changes nothing," Admiral Keth declared. "The threat must be eliminated." "Wait," Dr. Parker said urgently. "Admiral, what if we could find a way for him to control his power? What if the destruction could stop? Even if that were possible, which it is not, he has committed crimes that cannot be forgiven." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "So your solution is to commit another crime? To destroy someone who's trying to change?" "He cannot change," Commander Yex said. "Monsters do not become something else. Everyone can change," Jake shot back. "That's what makes us better than monsters." Valthros spoke again, his voice carrying across all channels. "Commander Yex, I will accept your judgment. If you believe I must die for what I have done, I will not fight you." The words shocked everyone into silence. Jake spun to face the screen showing Valthros. "What are you saying?" "I am tired, human Jake. So very tired. Perhaps it is time for this pain to end. No, Jake said firmly. That's not the answer. Tony's voice came from the engine room. Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildups from the fleet. They're preparing to fire everything they have. Jake made a desperate decision. Ben, patch me through to every ship in that fleet. Override their communications if you have to. Done, sir. Jake's voice echoed across 15 warships, filled with beings from a dozen different species. My name is Jake Morrison. I'm just an explorer from Earth. 3 hours ago, I thought Velthros was a monster too, but I was wrong. He paused, looking at the image of the ancient being on his screen. He's not a monster. He's someone who's been in pain for so long that he forgot how to be anything else. He's made terrible mistakes. Yes, but destroying him won't bring back the dead. It will just create one more tragedy in a galaxy that's already seen too much death. Admiral Keth's voice cut through the channel. Human, you do not understand the threat this being represents. I understand loneliness, Jake replied. I understand what it's like to drift through empty space with only the silence for company. I understand how that can drive someone to desperate actions. Dr. Parker added, Admiral, in the past 2 hours, we've learned more about energy-based consciousness than our entire civilization knew before. Velthros could help us understand transcended beings, prevent future conflicts like this. He could teach us, Jake continued. He could help us communicate with other energy beings before fear and misunderstanding lead to more death. Commander Yex spoke again, his voice softer now. What you suggest is impossible. The Council will never accept it. Then maybe it's time for the Council to learn something new, Jake said. The communication channels fell silent. Jake could see the fleet still holding position, their weapons charged but not firing. He looked at Velthros, whose energy form had grown dimmer during the conversation. What do you think? Jake asked the ancient being. Are you willing to try something different? Velthros was quiet for a long moment. You would trust me, knowing what I have done? I would trust you to try to be better than what you were, Jake said. For the first time in 800 years, Velthros began to hope that maybe, just maybe, he was not beyond redemption. The fleet held its position for nearly an hour. Jake could see ships moving restlessly in space, their commanders debating what to do. Some wanted to attack immediately. Others seemed uncertain after hearing the conversation between Jake and Velthros. Finally, Admiral Keth spoke again. Captain Morrison, the Council has agreed to hear your proposal. But any attempt at deception will result in immediate destruction of all parties involved. Jake felt relief wash over him. Thank you, Admiral. What do you need from us? We want to observe this being's claimed ability to control his power. If he can truly communicate without causing destruction, we will consider peaceful contact. Velthros pulsed with brighter energy. What would you have me do? Commander Yex's voice joined the channel. My science ship is the smallest vessel in the fleet. If you can approach it without causing any damage, we will believe your words about control. Jake felt his heart race. This was a huge risk. If Velthros accidentally damaged the Andromedan ship, the entire fleet would open fire. But if he succeeded, it might be the first step toward ending 800 years of fear and violence. Velthros, Jake said carefully. Are you sure you can do this? I do not know, the ancient being admitted. I have never tried to control my power around other ships. But I will try for you, human Jake. Dr. Parker quickly activated all her sensors. I'll monitor your energy output. If I see any dangerous spikes, I'll warn you immediately. Tony's voice came from the engine room. Captain, I'm moving us to a safe distance. If something goes wrong, we need to be ready to help. Jake watched as Velthros began to move slowly toward the Andromedan science ship. The ancient being's form shifted and changed, becoming smaller and more controlled. Instead of the wild, chaotic energy patterns they had seen before, Veilthros now glowed with steady, gentle light. Energy levels dropping, Dr. Parker reported. He's actually reducing his power output. Commander Yex's voice was tight with tension. We're reading his approach. So far, no damage to our systems. Jake held his breath as Veilthros came within a few hundred meters of the science ship. At this distance, his previous encounters with other species had always resulted in catastrophic system failures and destruction. Still no damage, Commander Yex reported, surprise clear in his voice. Our systems are functioning normally. Veilthros stopped moving. Is this close enough, Commander? Yes, Commander Yex said quietly. This is ... remarkable. In our previous encounter, you destroyed our ships from 10 times this distance. I was not trying to control myself then. Veilthros explained. I was angry and hurt. Pain makes power harder to contain. Admiral Kef's voice cut through the channel. This proves nothing. He could still be deceiving us. Jake felt frustration building. Admiral, what more do you need? A demonstration of trust, Admiral Keth replied. If this being truly wishes peace, he will allow our science teams to study him. He will submit to scans and analysis. Jake looked at the screen showing Veilthros. The ancient being's energy form flickered with what looked like fear. They want to study me like a specimen, Veilthros said. I have not allowed anyone to examine me in 800 years. You don't have to do this, Jake said. We can find another way. No, Veilthros said firmly. If this is what it takes to prove I am not a threat, I will accept it. Dr. Parker stepped forward. Veilthros, I promise you that any study we do will be respectful. We want to understand, not hurt you. I trust you, Dr. Lisa Parker. You have shown me kindness when others showed only fear. Over the next several hours, something extraordinary happened. Science teams from multiple ships worked together to study Veilthros, with Dr. Parker coordinating their efforts. Instead of the hostile analysis they had planned, it became a careful, respectful examination. Veilthros answered their questions patiently. He showed them how his energy-based consciousness worked, how he could manipulate matter and energy, and most importantly, how he had learned to control his power. Your people's transcendence was different from anything we've seen, Dr. Parker explained to the fleet. They achieved a form of immortality that allowed consciousness to exist as pure energy. But the process left them incredibly powerful and difficult to control. Commander Yex studied the readings from his science ship. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. If we had understood this centuries ago, perhaps the conflicts could have been avoided. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. Does this mean you believe him? Admiral Keth was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of difficult decisions. The evidence suggests that this being is not the mindless destroyer we believed him to be. However, the Council will need time to debate this new information. How much time? Jake asked. Several days, possibly weeks. The being will need to remain in this system, under observation while we decide. Veilthros pulsed with dim light. I understand. I will wait. Jake made another decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Then we'll wait with him. Ben spun around in his chair. Captain, our mission reports are overdue. Earth Command will be expecting us. Earth Command can wait, Jake said firmly. Veilthros has been alone for 800 years. He's not going to be alone anymore. Dr. Parker smiled. I'd like to continue studying his energy patterns. This could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness itself. Tony's voice came from the engine room. Well, we've got supplies for a few months. And I've always wanted to see what happens when an ancient energy being tries to learn human. Poker. Even Commander Yex seemed amused by that comment. Poker? Jake grinned. It's a human card game. Very popular among space crews. What do you say, Valethros? Want to learn something new? For the first time in 8 centuries, Valethros made a sound that might have been laughter. I would like that very much, human Jake. As the days passed, something remarkable began to happen. The fleet that had come to destroy Valethros instead found themselves getting to know him. They shared stories, learned about each other's cultures, and slowly began to see past 800 years of fear and misunderstanding. And in the cold darkness of space, an ancient being who had forgotten how to hope began to remember what it felt like to have friends. 3 weeks later, the Kepler 442 system had become the most peaceful place in the galaxy. Ships from dozens of species arrived daily, not to fight, but to witness the impossible. The being they had feared for centuries was teaching their children games and helping their scientists understand the mysteries of energy-based life. Jake stood on the bridge of the Liberty's Edge, watching Valethros create beautiful light displays for a group of young Zephyrian cadets visiting from a nearby training ship. The ancient being had learned to make his energy form into amazing shapes and colors, turning the empty space around them into a canvas for cosmic art. Captain, Ben called from his station. We're getting another transmission from Earth Command. They're demanding an immediate status report. Jake sighed. He had been avoiding those calls for days. How could he explain what had happened here? How could he tell his superiors that he had become friends with the galaxy's most feared entity? Put them through, Jake said finally. Admiral Sarah Johnson's stern face appeared on the main screen. She was Jake's old commander, the woman who had given him his first deep space mission 20 years ago. Morrison, she said sharply, what the hell is going on out there? We've been getting reports that you've made contact with some kind of galactic threat. Admiral Johnson, Jake said, I need you to listen to the whole story before you make any judgments. For the next hour, Jake told her everything. He explained about the distress signal, the destroyed planets, and their first meeting with Valethros. He described the ancient being's loneliness, his tragic history, and the slow process of building trust between him and the galactic fleet. Admiral Johnson listened without interrupting. When Jake finished, she was quiet for a long time. Let me understand this correctly, she said finally. You've befriended a creature that has terrorized the galaxy for 8 centuries. Yes, ma'am. And you've convinced an entire fleet to do the same. Yes, ma'am. Admiral Johnson rubbed her forehead. Morrison, you realize this could start a galactic war if it goes wrong. Or it could end 8 centuries of unnecessary fear. Jake replied. Before Admiral Johnson could respond, another voice joined the conversation. It was Valethros, who had been listening to their discussion. Admiral Johnson of Earth, Valethros said gently. Your Captain Morrison has given me something I thought was lost forever. He has given me hope that I can be more than the monster I became. Admiral Johnson stared at the screen in shock. You're talking to me. Yes, Jake taught me that communication is better than destruction. He showed me that friendship is possible, even for someone like me. Dr. Parker stepped forward. Admiral, the scientific discoveries we've made here could advance human technology by centuries. Valethros has shown us things about energy and consciousness that we never imagined possible. And the Council? Admiral Johnson asked. What do they say about all this? As if summoned by her question, Admiral Keth's voice joined the communication channel. Admiral Johnson, this is Admiral Keth of the Galactic Defense Force. Your Captain Morrison has accomplished something that seemed impossible. The Council has voted to grant Valethros official status as a protected entity under galactic law. Jake felt his heart leap. They agreed? Not without debate. Admiral Keth admitted. But the evidence of his peaceful intentions is overwhelming. More importantly, he has agreed to help us contact other energy-based beings throughout the galaxy, potentially preventing future conflicts. Commander Yex added his voice to the channel. My people have agreed to establish a permanent research station here. We want to learn more about transcended consciousness, with Velthros as our teacher. Admiral Johnson looked overwhelmed by the information. And what about you, Morrison? What are your plans? Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Tony was grinning from his engineering station. Dr. Parker was practically bouncing with excitement about her research opportunities. Even Ben, who had been terrified during their first encounter with Velthros, was smiling. We've been asked to stay as Earth's representatives to the new council, Jake said. Velthros wants us to help him learn about more human customs. Apparently, he's become fascinated with our music and literature. And our food, Tony called out. I've been teaching him about different Earth cuisines. Turns out, energy beings can appreciate the concept of flavor even if they can't eat. Velthros is warm. Laughter filled the bridge. Tony's descriptions of pizza have kept me entertained for hours. Admiral Johnson shook her head in amazement. In 30 years of military service, I have never heard a report like this one. Will Earth support our mission here? Jake asked. Admiral Johnson was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. Morrison, you've turned the galaxy's greatest threat into its newest ally. Of course, we'll support you. The President wants to personally thank you when you return to Earth. If we return, Jake said. Velthros has mentioned that there are other energy beings scattered throughout the galaxy, some of whom may be as lonely and misunderstood as he was. We might be needed to help with first contact situations. Dr. Parker nodded eagerly. The research possibilities are endless. We could be looking at decades of discovery. Admiral Johnson's expression grew serious. Are you sure about this, Morrison? This is a long way from the exploration missions you used to run. Jake looked out at the space around their ship, where Velthros was still creating beautiful light. Patterns for the visiting cadets. In the distance, he could see ships from a dozen different species working together, studying and learning from each other. Admiral, Jake said, 3 weeks ago, this system was a monument to fear and misunderstanding. Now it's become a symbol of what's possible when we choose to listen instead of fight. I can't think of any mission more important than that. Velthros spoke again, his voice warm with gratitude. Jake Morrison showed me that even someone who has made terrible mistakes can find redemption. He taught me that friendship can bridge any gap, even 8 centuries of fear. Admiral Johnson nodded slowly. Then you have Earth's full support. Good luck out there, Captain. As the transmission ended, Jake felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They had not just prevented a war. They had created something new, something that might change the galaxy forever. So, Tony called out, anyone want to teach Velthros how to play chess? I think he's ready for something more challenging than poker. Velthros's energy form pulsed with excitement. I would enjoy that very much. But first, could you tell me more about this thing called ice cream? I find the concept fascinating. Jake laughed, looking around at his crew and their impossible new friend. Sometimes the best adventures were the ones you never saw coming.